Please pray with me. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of all our hearts be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. Amen. Good morning. Just reading this long gospel passage from John makes me feel as if I've already preached a sermon. I could just say amen and sit down, but let's explore where this reading takes us. The story begins to unfold as Jesus and his disciples are walking through Jerusalem, and they pass a man begging in the streets. This man has probably been there begging every day of his life. But we hear one of his disciples ask, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" It's a natural question. How many of us, when we hear of someone suffering from a condition or a disease, ask ourselves, what happened? What caused this situation? What caused this disease? Because maybe if we can figure out and know what caused it, we could prevent that from happening in our own lives or the lives of someone we love. It's human nature. "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" We know that at this time in history and in this place, disease and conditions were tied in their minds to sin and suffering. It was linked to sin. If you were suffering, then there was something you had done, or your parents before you. That's frightening, isn't it? And if the man overheard the question, it would not have been the first time he had heard it. But think if over and over you heard someone say, "Did this man sin or did his parents?" How demeaning and how just terrible it would have made him feel. And not only him, but his parents when they would hear it. Jesus is teaching his disciples at this time about spiritual matters because he knows that he will not be here much longer. He's trying to prepare him for that time. And personally, I find his answer to the disciples very comforting. "Neither did this man sin, nor his parents, but the works of God might be revealed in him." And what happens next? Jesus heals him. He spits on the ground, he makes mud, and he reaches up and spreads it on the man's eyes. And he just says, "Go wash in the pool of Siloam," which means sent. He didn't question Jesus. He just obeyed. He went and he washed in the pool just as he was told, and he was healed. Think about his emotions at this time. This man who never, from the time of his birth, had seen anything, now sees everything clearly. Look at the beauty of our world. Look at other people and think, all you were ever able to do was try to imagine what people or nature or anything looked like, never even being able to look in the face of your mother. And all of a sudden, he's healed and he can see. And from the story, the long one that I just read, you know that his stubborn determination under questioning from the Pharisees and his parents being questioned, fearing that they would be thrown out of the synagogue, that testimony must have spoken to so many people who came to believe. because now he was the one who saw clearly, and the Pharisees were blinded by their own closed minds, and they threw him out of the synagogue. At one time or another, all of us in this life will face adversity, either in our own lives or in the lives of those we care about. The point is that we all have to deal with real fear and trouble in this life. When those times come, the question is, how are we going to handle it? What is our response going to be? We can either let our fears overtake us, overwhelm us, or we can turn to our faith and to others who love us, just as the blind man who came to see did in this gospel, knowing in our hearts that God walks beside us through anything that can come up in our lives, good times, bad times, it doesn't matter. And when we do this, it will be a witness to those around us of God's love and His grace. I have witnessed God's healing power many times in my own life, sometimes through physical healing, but many times through spiritual healing. Many of you know that my great-niece, Emerson, who was born in October of last year, with only one side of her heart formed. My nephew and his wife already had 2 healthy children when they learned during a routine prenatal sonogram at 20 weeks that this child had a serious problem and that she would require immediate surgery within a couple of days of her birth. Of course, they were terrified, but rather than give in to that fear, they began to learn to study everything they could about the condition that she had and to search for the right place that could take care of her after her birth. When Emerson was born, she was immediately transferred to Children's Medical Center while her mother recovered at another hospital. I can only imagine the separation fear that her mother felt when they took that baby away and her not able to be there. The surgeons did a laparoscopic procedure 2 days after she was born, which allowed the blood flow to be redirected from just her upper body to her complete body so that she could grow and get stronger before they had to do another surgery. She was in the hospital for weeks, and the witness of her family's faith has touched many people. The prayers of others for this family, including many of you here, has also brought hope and healing to her family. 2 weeks ago, she had major surgery where they opened her chest, and her little heart, about the size of a plum, was repaired so that blood could be redirected and she could continue to grow. There have been some scares along the way, and we don't know the long-term prognosis for Emerson, but we do know that God is walking this journey with us and that she has already touched the lives of many people through her strength and her resilience. She's a little warrior, and she still smiles and looks at us. It's really a beauty to behold. And I'm certain that all of you have stories of people who have helped you face hard times in your own life. And I know that many of you have been there for others as they walk that path of fear. God gives us the strength to face difficulties if we just turn to Him. The Pharisees were so quick to judge others and far less able to look within themselves at their own blindness. In the difficult times that we are now facing in our own country and in the world, which is filled with strife and blindness, let us strive to open our eyes and our minds to truly seek the hearts of those who we may disagree with, and not be so quick to judge. I am as guilty of this as anyone. We don't know what is in another's heart. We only know what is in our own. So let us seek to listen, to try to understand, and for sure to pray for those with whom we disagree. If we do this, to seek to understand, we may find common ground that we never knew was there, and we may find ourselves transformed in the process. Amen.